Hi, everybody. This is David Osterloh. Many of you know me because I ran a retail business in Elk City for over 30 years. That's where I learned that if you take care of your customers, they will take care of you. So when it was time to look for a career in real estate, I wanted to land someplace that had the same principles. Western Oklahoma Realty seemed like a natural fit. Putting people before property is the same as taking care of your customers. Since I've been at Western Oklahoma Realty, I've come to understand that is how they do business. People before property is not just a hashtag, it's a way of taking care of customers. When you are looking for your next home, we will find a place that your family can call home. When you are going to sell your current home, we will find a buyer that loves your place as much as you do. Western Oklahoma Realty, where putting people before property is a way of life. Come see us at 602 West 3rd Street. We are in the historic greenhouse on the hill, 1 block west of Homeland. Or you can check out our website, westernoklahomarealty.com, or even call us at 580-225-6271.
If you build it, he will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cow.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cow with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Good Monday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports right here on 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. Football on the show today. We'll hit some of the NFL stuff at the end, have some college football in the middle, and recap the high school football Friday night right here off the top of the show. 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. It's 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. We can talk about any of those things, whatever else might be on your mind. Feel free to chime right in at 225-9698. If you're going to be outside the listening area, a couple ways to stay in touch with the show. Log on to KADSAN.com or download the app. The app's got it all. Radio, Penny News, Big Elk and Paragon TV, all of it right there handy in the app. And, of course, the Skinny on Sports podcast, available everywhere podcasts drop. How are you today, Jared?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. How was your weekend?
It was eventful. Beautiful. Weather-wise, eventful weekend. It was fun. How was your weekend?
What'd you do?
Well, we held our golf tournament on Saturday. Good turnout. Again, weather cooperated. Thought it was going to be, the way Friday was going, I thought, here we go. It's going to be rainy. We're going to have to do something. But, of course, that blew through. We got a beautiful Friday night for the football game, and that carried over to Saturday. Had a lot of fun. Good turnout there. And after that was done, came home, watched a lot of football. Yesterday, watched a lot of football, played some softball. And that was about it. How was your trip to Blanchard?
It was nice on Saturday. It was kind of hot yesterday.
It did get a little warm yesterday.
But it was fun. It's so once the boys start pitching, you really don't see double elimination tournaments anymore.
When the kids start pitching.
When the boys start pitching, that's over. Pretty much, because you just run out of, you don't have enough.
Well,
arms.
that makes sense. I'm not used to that being on the softball
exactly.
side.
Yeah, I was kind of trying to tell you how it works.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well,
but
you're
with
right. That makes sense.
Yeah,
you don't want to hurt their
arms. If you got 12 teams in a tournament, there's no way you're going to play double elimination.
Absolutely.
Because you just you don't have enough. But down there was only 4, so yesterday in the bracket play it actually was double elimination. And this is something that just haven't dealt with in so long. So like on Saturday in the pool play, lost on a walk-off and then won by a run over the Southern Legends. So there's just
cool.
4 teams. The team that won, that beat the Ballers, they were the 1 seed. So then the other team, the Bananas, didn't win a game. So those two. So we played the same team again to start yesterday. Beat them. They beat the team, the Red Sox, that beat us on Saturday. Well, then because normally, that's it. It's time to hand out the rings.
Yeah.
Well, because, double elimination, because of short field, here come the legends. And so it's something that you have to beat the team 3 times in 2 days, and it just ran out of gas.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, Wyatt, he was all mad. And I'm like, that's the way it goes. He's like, yeah, I know, but we already beat him twice. It's like, yeah, you don't remember those days back in coach pitch when you had to beat somebody like 8 times to win a tournament sometimes. But anyhow, it was a good weekend, a lot of fun. Good baseball played for the most part, but the Ballers came up just a little short, and it does stink because you get into the bracket play, you win 2 games, you're thinking, well, shouldn't somebody have to beat you twice? But once again, it comes down to that, enough is enough with the pitching, with the arms,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
it just doesn't happen. But it was a good weekend. It's a fun group of dudes. Hey, here's something that I put 2 and 2 together with yesterday. So have you heard Jim talk about there's a kid in Western Oklahoma that's named after him? Have you ever heard him say that?
No. I don't think I have.
Yeah. There's a kid. There's a young man, and his name is Traber.
His first name?
His first name is Traber.
Very cool. Okay.
And so his little brother, plays with Wyatt on this team.
Oh, okay.
And it was like the light bulb went off in my head when I was talking to his dad, because I'd heard him say Traber, like when he was there watching, and then we were talking about because it's Jared Cudd that helped with Arapahoe a couple years,
Yeah.
and the principal over there. So his youngest son, Dax, is on Wyatt's team, and as we're sitting there talking, then he was talking about how much fun he had doing the Paragon TV stuff, but just what he has to do as the principal,
totally.
All that stuff. Just kind of, he doesn't have time. It's kind of a. And as he started talking about sports talk radio and how much it's like a light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, wait a minute, Traber, you're the one that named your kid, and he goes like, yeah, pretty much. And then here's Broadbent just put this on the text line. Here's another crazy thing. His wife is like my third cousin. Because she was a calc. How wild is that? Small world. It's a small world after all. But anyway, no.
So did he name his kid
Yes.
after Traber?
Yes.
Like in honor of him, or he just liked the name?
He liked the name. They couldn't think of They couldn't think of a name they liked, and he kind of brought it up, and she was like, "No, absolutely not. That ain't happening." And then, like a month goes by or whatever time frame as it's getting closer, they still haven't picked out a name, and she was like, what about that Traber? And he's like, I think it'd be kind of cool. It's a different name. You know what I mean? He'd be the only one with it.
Yeah.
And so there you
They call him
are.
Trabe for short.
Traber. I don't know. That's what I'm going to do if I see him at one of these tournaments. What's up, Trabe?
That's cool.
No, that's really wild. That's actually texted Jim. I was like, because I'd heard him talk about, asking Barry and Al or whoever, like, do you got anybody named after you? I do. And then it turns out, as Jared and I were sitting there talking, like the light bulb went off in my head. Like, you are Traber's dad.
It's funny as my oldest kid, Katie, her middle name is Dawn, and that we did not do it like this, but it was in the height of Kevin Durant's popularity in Oklahoma City, and when Katie was born, and I was having fun with it, and I called her KD for a long time.
Oh dear.
I was like, all right, KD, let's go, KD. And then the whole thing went down with Kevin Durant leaving. I was okay. Not calling her KD. I'm calling her Katie. Sometimes we call her Bug because we call her Katie Bug, but people will kind of give me a hard time. Like, oh, you named your kid after Kevin Durant? No, I didn't. I did not. Dawn came from mom. Actually, Katie and Dawn came. Catherine Dawn came from mom, and it's not after anybody. It just came in a dream. Allie came to me. I said, I like it. Pretty name.
I wouldn't admit it either anymore.
No, not anymore. I've buried that deep down.
All right, let's look back at Friday night high school football. two matchups in the bigger schools out here against 5A teams. Kind of wondered, okay, stepping up to that level, everybody knew how good Carl Albert was. But, the Elgin-Weatherford game, a little bit of a mystery. The 5A teams were dominant over those 4A1 teams. Carl Albert here, 56-14. I said this on the broadcast, and I still believe it right now. Yeah, it got out of hand. It got a little bit ugly on the scoreboard. But if you watch the game, or if you were at the game, and it's pretty crazy to say this because of the final score, but I really thought the Elks played hard. I thought they played pretty well. It's just sometimes you run up against teams that are just flat out just better than you. Out athletes you in spots on the field, and there's not a ton you could do about it. And I really thought that was kind of the game. And I think everybody that had any idea what Carl Albert was coming in had a feeling that was possible. Obviously, with the talent that they have on their team. But I felt better about the rest of the Elk City season walking out of the Big Elk Stadium Friday night than I did 2 weeks ago after a win against Bridge Creek. Just for what you saw, it felt like coming together as a team. Maybe not for the first time, but for the entirety of the game. Played hard, played as physical as you could against that team. I was encouraged, even in a blowout loss. I was really encouraged by what we saw on the field on Friday night from the Brown and White.
You want to be in that game. You want to play those games so you can see how you are, how you measure up with one of the best teams in the state. And I'm with you. I liked what I saw, despite the score. But even when the score was so lopsided, the fight that continued with the Big Elks and the stuff that they can do good, we saw some stuff that we know that they could do good. So, and they did play hard. And I know I was encouraged. Carl Albert gets the ball, goes down, scores, so suddenly like that, 7-0. Elk City turns around and connects on a long pass, and they tie it up. And it could be easy to go, well, this is exactly what we thought this team was going to be when they came in here, when we saw this on the schedule, and then the players they acquired in the offseason, and okay, well, this is how our night's going to go. But they didn't let that creep into their heads there in that first quarter. But Carl Albert is phenomenal. Let's just they got great athletes, and I'm just happy with the Big Elks fight. Talking on Saturday with some coaches I saw, health-wise, I think we're okay. I know there's some concern about Jaden Wynn, but I think it's fine. That's good. So get an off week, much-needed off week to, one, get healthy if we need it, and two, just go back and reevaluate the first 4 games, what worked, what didn't work, what's really working, what can we get better at, and move forward because first district game is a doozy at Clinton. It's always a tough atmosphere at the Tornado Bowl, but playing the Canadian, playing Carl Albert prepares you for a game like that, prepares you for when Weatherford comes to town. So very excited about the district slates coming up. Very encouraged too.
That's what you hope. I mean, anyway, that that these games like this prepare you, and not easy is not the right word, but being on the field with teams like that, you're more comfortable against the better teams in the district once you get to see the talent that they have as well. So, yeah, I thought it was encouraging. Now we'll just see what happens. I mean, you look around the district, obviously Weatherford had a big one with Elgin in town, did not handle it whatsoever. Elgin just ran roughshod over them. Similar scores with 43-7, 42-7. I've seen about 4 different scores. It's like what was those? Anyways, but either way,
it's like 13-0 at half or 18-0 or something. 13-0
at half. But as Daniel said, he knows one of the guys on the broadcast for Elgin, and they had kind of shot themselves in the foot going in the first half with the turnover down in the red zone and kind of some mistakes that gave Weatherford an opportunity, but. As it turned out in the second half, the Owls just blew them out. And then after our game, hearing some different things about Elgin, where you never know what happens in the summertime, right? Who's available, who's not. Mm-hmm. But I'd heard that they really put a pretty decent whooping on Carl Albert this summer in one of the team camps. That they might actually be a one of those teams nobody's talking about, but could be an actual team to worry about if you're the Titans. And that's certainly how they're looking at it. I have a hard time believing that anybody's beating that team we saw Friday night, but at the same time, Elgin obviously an improved squad from what we saw just 2 years ago down there in their last season in 4A1. I mean, it's hard to even fathom that team we saw is now in the top 5 in 5A, but it is. And so,
well, I mean, the they're bumped up to 5A for ADM reasons, and maybe a lot of that was coming from kids coming over from Lawton, maybe getting, it's kind of like the SEC effect. Like, you think that when OU and Texas go to the SEC or when they do next summer, and you're always kind of seeing recruits kind of gravitate towards those schools because, oh, they're going to be in the SEC. Maybe there's some kids in Lawton go, oh, Elgin's in 5A now? Maybe I want to go play there. I don't know. But they got something going on.
Yeah, I guess turns out they're way better than they were a couple years ago. Down in the smaller classes, Minko put it on Merritt, 67-24. Merritt must have played a lot better in the second half, or however that goes, because I think we saw it 60-6 at halftime, or in the second quarter, at least according to Squirtle. So Merritt did a better job. And then the Battle of the Tigers, Mountain View Gotebo beats Hollis 32-14. So Mountain View Gotebo, they've been one of those teams kind of right there on the cusp of competing for and winning a Class C title the last couple of years. Now number 3 in the rankings this week. Handled Hollis down in Hollis as that was the home opener, for the Tigers. Back to 4A1. Do you think the records, because here's the deal, nobody has or is going to have a winning record in the non-district. Weatherford and Elk City both 2-2. Clinton 1-2. I know they've got Guyman coming up in that dead spot in their schedule. That's a game that they kind of made here in the last couple of month or so. But even if they win that, still just even. Is that a byproduct of the challenging yourselves out of in the non-district, or is that a byproduct of these teams aren't as good as they have been the last couple of years?
I truly believe it's the first. I think it's the challenging thing. Because in those losses, I haven't gone back and watched the Weatherford game against Elgin. But, the Clinton Heritage Hall game, saw some really good things from Clinton. Of course, they beat Kingfisher, McGinnis. I was hearing there might have been injuries or something. And then, of course, Elk City, stuff we saw over at Canadian, the fight that they had. And, of course, we just mentioned Carl Albert game. I think it was just a matter of playing better opponents and losing, but I think they did good things. So I've been on this one for a while, is that I appreciate the hard scheduling as opposed to the easy scheduling. I think you learn more about yourself when you play these harder teams, these tougher teams, maybe a class up or the number 1 team in 3A or something like that. I think you learn more about your team than you do if you go and beat down some other team that you've always had success against. So I think it's the first. I just think it's a matter of the quality opponent is what it is.
As when you look at everyone else around the state in 4A, the top 4 at least with winning records in all the other districts.
Right.
I mean, when you kind of look toe-to-toe with 4A2, you're thinking, how's that work out come playoff time? But at the end of the day, then you look at, you think back to, the Elk City playing Bridge Creek, and that was obviously on the Elk side. But at the same time, 4A2's gotten Woodward a couple of different times in a big way. John Marshall's lost to Bethany. Weatherford lost to Newcastle. I think Cash lost to Tuttle. So there have been some games head to head between those two first round playoff opponents that have not gone the way of 4A1. But at the same time, outside of Weatherford, Newcastle, you haven't necessarily had teams that you're counting on to
actually match up in the playoffs.
Yeah. Right? And so it's probably remains to be seen. But
But on the other side of that, the rankings kind of are proving themselves. Those top teams, those teams that are ranked, yeah, they're winning games. So it kind of makes sense why they're ranked where they're ranked, right?
Yeah, that's what you just never. You can look at a record between two districts and go, okay, that one's clearly. But unless you dive down, okay, who was really playing, then maybe there's a little bit more evenly matched once it comes to playoff time than what you would think just right off the bat. District play starts this week. Elk City not out there just because of the way the schedule works. Maybe Weatherford Chickasha, is that the game of the week? Cache hosting Woodward, Weatherford hosting Chickasha, and then John Marshall Clinton at the Tornado Bowl.
I mean, for competitive-wise, I guess, I still think Weatherford will roll in that one.
I'd say that maybe
they're all pretty clear who's probably going to win.
I would think that's right, but that's kind of where it's at with 4A1 going in to the first weekend of district play. Isn't it weird when you lose one of your district opponents? Like, you gear up all summer long to play the non-district games, and then as soon as non-district starts, you're kind of gearing up to play district games. And you get all the way through the non-district schedule, and you look up, and you're not playing the first week. It's just kind of – it's a little bit odd the way that works sometimes when things outside your control happen. Because you like can't wait for week four. Yeah. And then you look up, it's week 4.
And oh, darn, we got to wait another week.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, next year that'll all be back to normal.
It'll be different. It'll be a hard opponent.
Oh, yeah.
When we come back, we'll check the Western Oklahoma Realty College Pick'em standings.
We were sitting around the office one day and tried to explain what Western Oklahoma Realty was. If you had to put it in a dictionary, what would you get? What kind of definition you would get? I think I said, what about, we're people before property?
Well, it means that you put the person that you're working with or the family that you're working with, you put their interests first. You make sure that you find the right property for them at the price that they can afford, and make sure that you take good care of them through the process.
For all your real estate needs, give Western Oklahoma Realty a call at 225-6271.
Hey! Is this heaven? No.
It's the Skinny on Sports.
Welcome back, Skinny on Sports, 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Hanging out here on a Monday. Let's check the Western Oklahoma Realty College Pick'em leaderboard. Big Poppy 10. Wonder who that is. Wrestled the lead away, 19-11. It's pretty good.
Pretty good
picking. 19 out of 30, so just under 2/3. Pretty good start. Big Poppy, and then that webtickets.com always shows up right there toward the top. Horns by 49. That's a cute nickname.
It was 10-10 going to the fourth quarter against the mighty Cowboys of Wyoming. Fool's gold.
I wouldn't say anything if I was an OU fan. It was 14-11 against the mighty Mustangs a week ago.
Well, just saying.
Quinn Ewers is a trip, man. He is a trip.
What do you mean?
He's just a trip. He plays like a first-round pick against Alabama every single year, and everybody else, he completes half his passes. He's such a trip, dude. They won. Hey, it's a deal. Those ugly wins are a lot more fun than pretty losses. Who else is up here? Got Peffer, Sam. Let's go, Brandon. No one out pizzas the Hut. Coach Green. I challenged Coach Green. Did you get to watch the OU game?
I got home about midway through the second quarter.
Did you see
it's already 28-0? I thought, well, this is over.
So it happened after that then. Did you see I think so. Kevin Wilson, when he was arguing the call, he jumped back behind the line. I challenged Coach Green to do that at Clinton in 2 weeks in the 7th grade game. If he got upset, just to run over there and jump behind the line and then start arguing again. I thought that was pretty good. Brandon Embry, he was leading last week. Oh, I had you backwards. You got 4 out of 6.
Yeah, I did not do good.
I was looking the wrong way. It was going
a lot of
left to
the
right. Brandon only got 3 this week.
a lot of teams I thought would, maybe that's why I'm bitter towards Texas. A lot of teams I thought would cover did not.
See, that's how my year has gone so far in the pick'em. I'm not beating very many people, just a few at 10 and 20. But I picked Wyoming. I thought this is an obvious letdown spot. 28.5. I mean,
I haven't said it, but I still didn't pick them.
Obvious letdown spot. It's 10-10 in the fourth quarter, and then I thought, oh my gosh, they're not going to cover. When Texas they threw the pick 6, Texas started scoring a couple of touchdowns. I was like, you know what, this is the way this goes. I make a great pick finally, and it's going to lose too. Somehow they'll get to 37-10, drop the extra point snap, and run a little play and get 2, and then it'll be 39-10, and I'll lose that one too. But that was one of the few that I actually got right this week. I was dead wrong on LSU. The history of Mississippi State had been in those games in Stark Vegas. LSU pounded them.
Yeah, they took care of it.
They pounded them. So maybe the reports of the Tigers' demise might have been a little premature. Let's talk about the in-state games. I'm more of a good than bad. I like to be more optimistic, so I'm going to start in Tulsa instead of Stillwater. Oklahoma rolled. You mentioned 28-0. I mean, it happened so fast. It was a little bit ominous on the opening kickoff. Farouk makes a great return, then fumbles it, and you think, uh-oh, here we go. But no, Oklahoma, outside of when that little spot in the game where Tulsa made the quarterback change to Cardell Williams, who he was pretty awesome. Running around a little bit, making some plays, got it back to 45-17, and then OU slammed the door in their face. But all in all, in the non-conference schedule for Oklahoma, 3-0. And here's the thing, I get it. They were exactly the same last year, 3-0, with Kansas State coming to town. This year, 3-0 going to Cincinnati, who just lost to, who did they lose? Western Kentucky or somebody?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati lost to somebody not very good.
Yeah, not very good.
And so there's that part of it similar, but I will say this. It looks different this season than it did last season. The wins are more dominant. The defense especially looks flying around. I mean, 5 interceptions this last weekend against Tulsa. It looks different. Now, does that mean the results are going to be different? I don't know. But at least the eye test of what Oklahoma did this year in the non-conference appears better suited to have a way better season than what they did in Brent Venables' first year a year ago.
Yeah, it does. It does look different, feels different. Confidence-wise, I think is the big thing. There's more confidence in it. You mentioned how the game opened. That could be could have been a sign of, oh boy, here we go, and it's going to be a tough day. And they didn't let it get to them and jump out to a 28-0 lead. And then, when they got up 28-0, and was it then when Tulsa scored at a couple secondary breakdowns, and I blame Scott Garrison for that.
Yeah, I know.
As soon as
he texts both of us, boy, this is what's good about Oklahoma not making any defensive mistakes, like mental mistakes. And, I mean, it wasn't a play later. There's a dude wide open in the end zone.
I told him, turn your phone off. But, again, yeah, there's those mistakes. But then they just kept rolling on offense. And it looked like they more or less fixed those mistakes. So it does feel different. I guess my approach is cautiously optimistic. We'll see. They're a 2-touchdown favorite at Cincinnati, who I thought had a little bit of life, but then they go and lose to
Miami of Ohio.
Yeah. And by the way, Big 12 did not look good this year.
I got that on the list here in just a second.
But so it's a tough conference opener on the road. Cincinnati's going to be.
No, it's not. It's not a tough. There is one tough game on the schedule. Maybe 2.
I'm just still going back to last year. These are games they had problems.
Oh my God! If they can't listen, if Oklahoma goes anything worse than 10-2 this season, it's a disaster. And the SEC, even as bad as it is right now, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. That there's a chance. Now, the SEC part might be a little bit overstated, but there's a chance they're the two worst conferences in the country.
SEC and Big 12?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is terrible. Terrible. And if Oklahoma cannot go in there and win this game handily, then listen, this conference is bad. Bad. And it's not a good sign. At BYU looks way harder than I ever thought it might, with them going into Arkansas and winning that game on Saturday, especially when they just got punched in the face. The first of that game, Arkansas scored 2 touchdowns before we even sat down at Buffalo Wild Wings. It was like, holy cow, it's a track meet in Fayetteville, and then here came the Cougars. But this is not a tough opener.
I'm more to see it. I mean, the first 3, SMU, I still have that in the back of my mind. They struggled with that team. Last year still is a bad taste in my mouth.
I mean, Cincinnati is not as good as SMU.
It's still just back of my mind that these are games that go on the road and they just struggle.
Well, if that's
Since
the case.
in the Brent Venables era. So
he's had 1 year.
Until it doesn't happen, I'm going to say they're going to go over there. Cincinnati's going to be – the only thing I'm happy about, it's not a 7 p.m. kickoff in Cincinnati. It's at 11 a.m. So maybe that's something that's positive. But, I think they'll win. But what if it's 14-10 going into the fourth quarter?
Then OU's not near as good as anyone thinks.
Maybe I think they're not. Maybe I still got to see it. Maybe I think that I'm like, well, that's all well and good. You beat Arkansas State, SMU, and Tulsa. And sure,
Cincinnati fits right in there with those.
But again, everything what I just said on the road, the road thing, open conference thing, it just sticks with me. Like, this is a game that they just have struggles with. Who care who the opponent is? It's just like they beat themselves sometimes.
Well, if that's the case, and Oklahoma,
Hope I'm wrong.
Oklahoma doesn't go in there and win this game easily.
OU, prove me wrong.
Then the SEC is going to kick their tail. Period. End of story. And probably don't have the right head coach. If you can't navigate this Big 12 to 10 wins, then that discussion is absolutely on the table. Period. End of story. Because this conference is brutal. Case in point, Stillwater, Oklahoma. What in the hell is going on up there?
I don't think they know what's going on up there, the way that looked. When I turned that on, it was too late. It was already over. I was blown away when I turned, because I was doing my thing and hadn't seen the kids all day Saturday, out playing with them. Oh, yeah, OSU's on. Sit down, turn on. Bah. What was it, like 23?
It was 16-0 in the first quarter.
So it was like 23-0.
I think it was 16-0 at halftime. Then it got to 23. Then it got to 33.
Yeah.
The quarterback thing is, it's weird. It's not working. You know where else it's not working? Alabama.
Oh, they do not know what to do with their quarterback.
Well, it's at least, the only difference is they don't have them on set schedules to play a certain amount. They at least get a chance to prove they're not the guy, and then as soon as they do, they get pulled. Whereas here, it's like some sort of script. I everyone thought this would be a tough game. Everyone was like, "Oh, South Alabama's pretty good. South Alabama's pretty good." I
was saying that
everyone
too, but
was.
I was really.
Were you saying it just because they were 10-3? Did it ever cross your mind that South Alabama was going to dominate both lines of scrimmage against Oklahoma State like they did?
No, not like that. I was saying it because of everybody they returned. They brought a lot of people back from that team last year that won, was it 10 games?
Yeah, 10-3.
So that's what I was basing that off of. And then countering that with, well, they're going up against a team that's been hit hard by the portal and all that stuff. They can't figure out their quarterback situation. So that's why I kind of circled that. So that one might be a little tough for the Cowboys, but I didn't think it'd be blowout for the Cowboys.
Well, no. And here's the truth. The quarterback stuff is going to get all the pub. And when it's weird like this, it should, I guess. But it doesn't make any difference who the quarterback is right now. Zero difference. Because that offensive line is so bad that none of the quarterbacks can do anything outside of the guy that they ran out of town. With Sanders being able to, maybe we need to have a way deeper appreciation for who and what Spencer Sanders was a year ago to lead the team to where he led them to before the demise. Think about this. I keep going back. Coming off a Big 12 title game loss in which they were, 2 inches away from maybe playing in the playoff in 2021. They're 5-6-0 a year ago, going to Fort Worth in the top 10. That was not even a year ago. And it seems like a decade ago. Last October, whatever, third weekend in October, because Alabama and Tennessee were playing the exact same day. That's always the third Saturday in October. That was 11 months ago. That Oklahoma State was in the top 10 undefeated and was ahead of TCU, who played in the title game like 24-7 in the first half. And was that 2010 or was it last October?
Yeah.
It is wild, just the spiral that has occurred in Stillwater. And now, what happens today?
Well, the first question is who gets to blame? Who gets to blame? They didn't look prepared. They looked overmatched against a South Alabama team.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't care how good South Alabama was supposed to be, or that they had 18 starters returning. All that. It's Oklahoma State at home against South Alabama. I'm not even suggesting that you should never lose that game, but I am saying you should never get dominated the way that they did. Dominated. There was no time. I watched literally the whole game. And there was no time in that game where I thought, I think OSU's going to come back and win this. Or I think, you know what I mean? It was just right from the start, punched in the mouth.
But you've seen a lot of games in Stillwater where they do come back and win those games.
Yeah, and that one had a totally different feel about it.
It had a feel about it, and the thing that was the gut punch for me, you hate to see this in any fan base, but it was early in the third quarter, and they started showing fans just up and leaving.
No, listen.
Wow.
The loudest that stadium was at halftime when they were just booing them off the field.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that too.
And listen, rightfully so. That was pathetic. That was a pathetic performance. And so I go back to, one of the major stories of the offseason was Marshall, the pistol firing blog guy, asking Mike Gundy about staff changes, specifically offensive staff changes, and the way that went down with threatening to pull or pulling the credential and all that. All he was doing was asking exactly what the fans believe should happen. So what happens now? Does Gundy have to go back? Does he have to make that choice to go back to being the play caller for now before he can hire somebody in the offseason? The offensive line coach, James Dickey, isn't getting it done. I know he's got the resume to say he should, but he's not. And on the Gundy side of the blame, it always goes back to me, to one of the other big storylines in the offseason was recruiting and the recruiting budget and how small it is compared to everybody else. I mean, they were half the size of Iowa State, much less getting up in the OU or Texas, atmosphere.
Right.
But why?
Is it we've had this comment on the text line, so I'm just repeating it. Is it stubbornness? Is it we don't need to do all that stuff that those other teams do, those other programs do? We can do it the traditional way and just recruit them to get here. Is it a stubbornness attitude or approach to being unwilling to change?
It's interesting because kind of three of the outspoken against the portal guys, and when I say guys, I mean coaches, are really having a hard time of it by their standards. Gundy's 1, Dabo is 2, and Saban's 3. And all three of those guys have had subpar starts to their season to the standard that they had set coming into this year. And there's no doubt. Now, I don't think any of us know how or to the extent of the portal and NIL are actually going to change and are changing this sport forever. I don't think there's a limit to what that actually could be, right? I mean, there's no telling what it ends up being, but there's no doubt it's something, and there's no doubt it's changing the sport somehow. We just simply don't know exactly how and what that looks like yet because it's so new. But you can look across the country, and I know we'll get there here in just a second, but those three not embracing the portal whatsoever, and then you look up at Colorado, and you look out at USC, two guys that absolutely have embraced and used the portal to their advantage, NIL to their advantage. Lincoln turning USC around in one season last year to almost making the playoff. Has them rolling again offensively. We can talk about the defense all you want. But the fact is, the portal in the NIL, Lincoln Riley has used that to reestablish USC as a powerhouse on the West Coast. There's no doubt about that. And now here's Sanders doing the same thing at Colorado in one season, in one off season. Now, do I think they're about to get some smacked in their face the next 2 weeks? Yes. But that doesn't stop the momentum that he's already created. It's amazing. There is such like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in my brain about what he's doing at Colorado. Because there's a whole bunch of it that I'm like, wow, that is absolutely amazing. And then there's a whole bunch of it that I'm like, please God, somebody beat them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's such a wild thing that I just can't wrap my mind around. I mean, that game starting on Saturday night, I thought Burt Reynolds was going to come back from the dead and start coaching both teams like it was the longest yard. And then finally, when things settled down, it turned into a wildly entertaining football game. And what Deion's son did there at the end, leading that 98-yard touchdown drive to tie it, getting the 2-point conversion, all that, it was phenomenal stuff. Phenomenal stuff. But it took every ounce of what they had to beat Colorado State. Jay Norvell, I know I know people like him. He coached at OU, whatever. Jay Norvell choked immensely on Saturday night. He talked all that crap, had his dudes amped up, over amped, but he had them playing with their hair on fire, not giving a damn about who Deion Sanders was or who Colorado was, and they were there for a fight. And they took the fight to Colorado. All of that. All of that stuff. And it comes down to 4th and 2 with 2 minutes left. And you punt to Sanders and let him go 98 on you. And then after Dion completely, or Shadur, one of the two, completely screwed the pooch on the coin toss in overtime. They screwed it completely up. Colorado won the coin. See, a lot of people on social media were saying, "Oh, Colorado State or Colorado has to have the ball twice." Wonder why? Like that there's some sort of racial thing here that doesn't even exist. They don't realize that Shadur's the one that screwed it up. He took the ball. Well, guess what? That means Colorado State gets it second in the first overtime, and then going into the second overtime, they get to choose.
What they
and
want.
they chose wisely.
Yeah.
Now, it worked out, and that's just going to be completely glossed over that they didn't either know the rules or they screwed it, whatever it was. I mean, that was a huge blunder that should have cost them the game, because then Norvell has a chance in overtime to right the wrongs of what he did, not going for it 4th and 2, and ending the game with the ball in his hands. And he kicked the extra point. All of that bravado, all of that, screw those guys, they don't mean nothing. And you get a chance to just really flop them out on the table, and you don't even make the move to do it. I cannot believe I was watching that. After everything that went into that, and you had a chance to prove you had the brass ones in the building and all of the sunglasses and all of that, and you punt and you don't go for 2. Goodness. If I was a Colorado State fan, I'd be really proud of the way they played, and I'd be really mad at Jay Norvell right now.
It's Colorado State, and that's why Jay Norvell is at Colorado State. Before then, he was wearing Nevada.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah.
What? Who cares? I mean, it's the biggest. It was the game of the day.
Point is, coaches at bigger programs, established coaches who have
they'd have done it too. They'd have choked it off too.
Who?
Other guys don't take risk. The only one that I can guarantee you would have done it is Saban, because he don't have to worry about his job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He doesn't have to worry about what are you going to say? Oh, the GOAT screwed up? Well, he's still the GOAT. But that's the whole point of why he should have. What does Jay Norvell have to lose at Colorado State? I mean, he was already the villain for speaking any sort of his truth to Dion. So what does it matter?
I'm not defending him. I'm just saying he's not a good coach. I'm agreeing with you.
He was a hell of a coach Saturday. That's the whole damn point. He was a great coach Saturday. He did exactly what you have to do in that situation at Colorado State until he had the chance to really prove it, and he choked. He choked. And it doesn't matter how good he is or isn't. He did exactly what he had to do to get his team ready for that fight, to take that fight to him, and his team did. His team did it. His team walked the walk for his talk. And then when he had a chance to walk that same walk, he cowered down. If I was one of his players, I'd have been so mad in the locker room at him, because we went out and acted a damn fool for you. 16 penalties for 100,000 yards. We went out there and acted a fool and played through the whistle, all that stuff that you know he was saying. And then you got a chance for you to have our back and win this game, and we can shove it in their face all year long, and you punt, and you don't go for 2? Come on, man. If I was those players, I would be irate at Jay Norvell, because they did everything he asked them to do and more. I mean, just go look at any sports media about that game. They are being vilified for having the gall to stand up to Colorado, the new national darling.
Right.
And then he had a chance to show he had their back the way they had his, and he didn't do it. Stay on Colorado. What's going to happen? I mean, everybody was there this Saturday. Mm-hmm. Every media outlet there was there.
The freaking Rock was there.
Kawhi Leonard was at a game. How shocking. I mean, he was still in street clothes, but he was at a game. At least he went. What happens in 2 weeks if Oregon and USC blast them? How does then this story get told?
Well, the love goes away. The interest goes away. And I'm not sure why there's still all this love for him after struggling with that Colorado State team. So I think it'll be when they go back and tell the story of this season, it'll be, man, Colorado's start of the year, blazing, check, oh, Deion is here, and then they'll move on. I mean, okay, what happened in October? But I think the interest goes away. It's just that's the nature of the beast when you who's the hot team, cool new team now. But and we think it'll happen when Oregon beats them and USC beats them. Now, what if they give them a fight and lose, So there still might be that love there. But if they go up there and go to Eugene and get their doors blown out, and I think the atmosphere will be just as rocking, win or lose. At Oregon, it'll be rocking when USC comes to town. Because that's coming to Boulder. But I think Saturday night showed me what I think we all kind of expected, or you and me did, is that they're not world beaters just yet.
Oh, no, I don't think that at all. No, they're not.
That's what blows my mind, I guess.
But I promise
it's
you,
a cool thing that to attach yourself to cool people and sunglasses and hats and Deion Sanders. I get it. He's a cool dude. He's fun to watch. He's fun when he's talking, and I get all that. But I guess what blows my mind is these experts, these football experts are. I mean, we can see it. I mean, I see it. It's like, yeah, they're not at that level yet. Potentially, they could be in a couple years if he can continue to hit in the portal
I got news
like
for
he
you.
has.
They're every bit as good as anybody with skill.
Right.
Their skill dudes are unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable. And we'll see what their up front guys can do. I mean, I think the opinion of TCU has gone way downhill since the preseason. With the loss of Colorado, they struggled for a long time against Houston. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That maybe was more of a flash in the pan, everything coming together season a year ago than establishing that type of you know what I'm saying? Year in and year out.
Curious what their game this week will look like
against SMU.
SMU.
But as far as Colorado goes, it's amazing how similar it feels, and maybe for good reason, because Deion lived it on the other side of this. But this feels like the new version of the U. The brashness, the bravado, the in-your-face, we can do whatever we want as long as we're winning type of attitude. But what's wild about it is how far we've come as a culture and as a society in 40 years. Because when that was happening at Miami in the 80s and early 90s, the attitude around the country toward that, especially from the media people, was just, they were aghast at the brashness and what are you doing? This is not acceptable. Whereas now, things have changed and almost done a 180 to where you are not going to be allowed. I don't care if Oregon beats them 55-0. You're not going to be allowed to question anything about what Deion does. Or you're going to be a racist. Period. End of story. That's where we've come in society, to where you're not going to be allowed. No one even mentioned the coin toss fiasco in overtime. No one has even mentioned it because everybody in media is either ready to call somebody a racist for mentioning it or is scared to death they'll be labeled that. And the crazy thing is, it has nothing to do with it. They were in the moment. They either didn't realize the rules were different than the NFL. I mean, that could very well be it when you think about where Deion has come from. with the NFL overtime rules, coin toss, please, Lord, let us win. We got the ball, we'll go win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you wonder, just in the heat of the moment, not realizing, wait a minute, this college. You actually need the ball second. That way you know what you have to do, right? But no one's mentioning that. No one's going to, because everybody's scared to death to, because of what's happening.
I think there's that. I think there's also, you don't want to be that one person that goes that questions his coaching ability.
Why though?
Yeah.
Why?
But there's no racial anything.
No, but that's what it's going to be labeled.
That's where I guess I'm confused. Is everyone loves this and they're jumping on board with it, but why aren't experts looking at this going, well, yeah, they got great skill players and everything, but they're not that. I mean, they're not a top 10 team.
I think,
but man, they get coverage like they're like they are the U, or even Florida when Tebow was there, and they're getting coverage every single week, every day of the week.
You have to. If you're the networks, you have to ride this gravy train, because they're covering it right now because they know it's about to go off the cliff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They know if they trusted that Colorado was going to be around toward the end of the season, you don't make all these trips to Boulder in September. You wait till when the games really matter for something in November. Mm-hmm. And I think they're telling you without telling you, nobody thinks that's happening. So, by gosh, make your money when you can, when people actually are excited and care about the Colorado football season, before here in 2 weeks they're 3-2, and then a little bit back to reality. With what? Yeah, make hay while the sun shines. That's exactly what's happening here.
Oh, sure. He said the perfect thing when he was asked about possible other coaching locations. You know what his response was? Deion's.
What?
I love Boulder. I like it in Boulder. I have an idea of where his next coaching venture will be.
Where?
Well, Denver's currently 0-2. By the time his son is up for or in the draft,
which could be next year.
Seriously, I do think if he makes a leap, I really think he might go somewhere where it's going to line up where NFL team needs a new coach. Oh, by the way, they intend to draft Sanders. Let's take a shot. Let's bring Deion in, and he wants to go coach his son.
I hope he doesn't. Because there's a lot to really, really like about him in the college game.
Yeah, he feels like a better fit in college.
Yeah, he does. Because, I mean, here's the deal. If he goes to, let's say he's the coach of the Broncos next year, he can't use the advantages that he possesses. There's no portal. There's no NIL. There's the draft. You know what I mean? In free agency, you only have
there's that. I mean,
but there's a salary cap.
Right.
There's a limit on what he can do. Versus here, he literally has more new guys on this team than scholarships available. 86 new guys with an 85 scholarship limit. I can't believe it's working to the level it's already worked this season. I mean, you're talking about the doormat of the Pac-12. They won 11 a year ago?
Yeah.
And I get that nobody here on this show thinks that they're going to be some sort of playoff contender. But 5-7 is an amazing turnaround for what they were. And I think they're going to be better than that.
Yeah, I just looked at their record or their schedule. The two upcoming are big. Oregon and USC, but then who else they got coming?
I mean, you say that, but the Pac-12 is the best conference in the country.
Yeah,
at least so far. I mean, I totally. It's like we got to rewrap our minds around the fact that they've got 8 teams ranked, and rightfully so. That's the crazy part.
No, I'm on board with it. I had a feeling they'd be good with their quarterbacks.
Yeah. Okay.
But I wasn't even considering Sanders in Colorado. I was not.
Or Washington State.
Yeah. Where they've come from, yeah.
Okay, so they got at Oregon and USC. Then they get Arizona State, which is clear breather. That's a game they should absolutely win. Stanford, is terrible.
They should win that.
Yeah. So that's 5 wins without anything crazy happening. Then they finish with UCLA, Oregon State, Arizona, Washington State, and Utah. That could be where, starting it at UCLA, that last 5 could be where everything kind of derails off the tracks.
Is that at UCLA?
Yes.
Rose Bowl will be packed.
At UCLA. Then they've got Oregon State, Arizona at home. Then they finish at Washington State, at Utah. 6-6 is absolutely in play. If not beating one or two of these teams, who knows? I mean, at this point, I would probably take 7-5. If you said 7-5, I would take the under and maybe thinking you're going to tie. But even that's pretty incredible for what they were. And he did it with literally a brand new team. I mean, that's the thing about it. It's not. It ain't old Colorado because it isn't even the team. He doesn't even have those dudes anymore. So it's crazy what he's done. And on the field, he is just like so calm. I mean, you watch him; he's so calm on the sideline. He goes against like the brashness of away from the game or after the game or before the game.
Right.
Maybe he's a better coach than I thought he was going to be.
Hi, everybody. This is David Osterloh. Many of you know me because I ran a retail business in Elk City for over 30 years. That's where I learned that if you take care of your customers, they will take care of you. So when it was time to look for a career in real estate, I wanted to land someplace that had the same principles. Western Oklahoma Realty seemed like a natural fit. Putting people before property is the same as taking care of your customers. Since I've been at Western Oklahoma Realty, I've come to understand that is how they do business. People before property is not just a hashtag, it's a way of taking care of customers. When you are looking for your next home, we will find a place that your family can call home. When you are going to sell your current home, we will find a buyer that loves your place as much as you do. Western Oklahoma Realty, where putting people before property is a way of life. Come see us at 602 West 3rd Street. We are in the historic greenhouse on the hill, 1 block west of Homeland. Or you can check out our website, westernoklahomarealty.com, or even call us at 580-225-6271.
The Skinny on Sport.
Yeah! Coming on, yeah!
Welcome back. Skinny on Sports 98.1 FM, the sports animal. Wrapping it up here on a Monday. Western Oklahoma Realty Monday. Tyler, Robbie, all the gang at Western Oklahoma Realty. People before property is their motto. 225-6271 is their phone number for any and all of your real estate needs. We've got all kinds of stuff to talk about, college football throughout the week. Real quick, NFL. We mentioned a bunch of those teams that had the most pressure on them coming into this week. A lot of those were those 0-1 AFC teams that we felt had chances to make runs at divisions, make runs at the playoffs. Kind of a mixed bag of results this week. Buffalo and Kansas City righted the ship. The Bills were awesome. Josh Allen, you see the good of Josh Allen one week, the bad of him the week before. He was incredible in the beatdown of the Raiders. Kansas City made just enough plays to go into Jacksonville and win, so they even their record at 1-1. But then the Jets, the Pats, the Chargers, and probably to me the most shocking one is Cincinnati, although should it be, because this is the 4th time in 5 years they've started out 0-2. They did it a year ago and still made the playoffs. But those 4 teams all falling in the Steelers tonight with a chance to even up at 1-1.
Don't forget Burrow basically missed all of the preseason.
And he mentioned
some of that
may have tweaked his calf.
I saw that. Yeah.
Does it give you pause if you're Cincinnati signing him to the deal you've signed him to?
Not after 2 games. No. I'm
not talking about the money.
Oh, okay.
Hang on. With what happened, you know who else kind of had a calf injury in the preseason?
No.
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, well, duh.
We've seen this recently. Think about KD. Oh, my calf hurts a little bit in the finals. Oops, blew my Achilles. Rodgers. What happened to him? Does that give you pause if you're Cincinnati with the guy that you're going to pay all this money and be your franchise quarterback for all these years? Do you really have a conversation of, okay, we're 0-2. We came back from it last year, but more importantly, do we want to jeopardize, because Burrow's already had an ACL in that Bengals uniform. Do you almost have a powwow of we have to get him 100% healthy because of what this tweaked calf, quote unquote, could lead to taking the wrong step in a game?
That's a good question. That's a tough one to look at. I don't know.
I mean, the preseason expectations are we're going to dig out of this and we're going to have a chance. Heck, they won the division last year after going 0-2.
Mm-hmm. I think there's still a lot of hope that they'll get out of this and be fine. They're kind of bucking that trend of the 0-2 starts.
I would just be really, really careful with him. Even though, yeah, I get it. But you got the Rams coming in next Monday night. So it gives him an extra day. But that's something that, for me, could be a little bit concerning. Tonight, doubleheader. It's always, the Monday night doubleheader is always fun, right? New Orleans, Carolina, and then Cleveland, Pittsburgh. I think that's one most people have their eye on to see if the Steelers can bounce back after that beat down at the hands of the 49ers. NFC-wise, do we see a clear separation now through 2 weeks at least, that there's 3 teams way up here and there's the rest of the conference down below?
Right now, yeah. Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think so. Normally I wouldn't say that after 2 weeks, but they've looked the part in 2 games.
Yeah, and here's the deal. I think the Rams are good. They were that quiet team in the offseason that nobody really knew what they were doing with Stafford, and is he playing, is he not? Aaron Donald, McVay. There was they were just really, really quiet for a team that's been as good as they've been. And then I think they're pretty good. And for San Francisco to go in there and win, that's impressive. Obviously, Dallas is just beating people down right now. And then Philly was Philly the other night, even in a little bit of a struggle. So who is that next team? Is it the Rams? Is it the Bucks?
Yeah, don't look now. They're 2-0. Baker's look solid.
He was great yesterday. He was way better than solid.
See that throw he made?
What about the Rams? Are the Falcons to be believed?
No. No.
How about the Commanders? 2-0.
That's why it's called an upset, Aaron, when you're beating Green Bay by a point. I'm not jumping on the Falcons. Who else did you say?
Commanders, 2-0. Sam Howell, the savior of D.C.
They tried to blow that one at the end.
There's only one division in football that doesn't have an 0-2 team.
Would that be the East?
NFC East. Now, if Carolina can beat
New York tried.
If Carolina can beat New Orleans tonight, the NFC South would join that, which is just shocking.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody going into this season thought they were by far the worst division in football. And then they could have 2 2-0s and 2 1-1s. Unlike anybody else outside the NFC East. Will Anthony Richardson survive? That poor guy. He is a fantasy goldmine, except for the fact that he may have a concussion every single week, having to run the ball because he can't throw it yet.
Different league. Who was it who told him you can't take hits week in and week out like that?
Great job. Protect yourself, though. Who was that?
Was it Burrow? Who was it? Who told him that?
It was last week.
Who'd they play? Yeah, he's good for
It was Lawrence, Trevor Lawrence. It was the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence.
So they just hit different.
Yeah, it's Lawrence. Oh, I bet you this text says Lawrence. Yep.
And Cowboys look great defensively again. They looked awesome.
Dak was good.
Dak was solid.
CD was good, even though it wasn't against Sauce. That's been a big thing.
I'm going to stand on this platform that Dallas has a Super Bowl defense and a good enough offense.
Yeah.
And that offense with CeeDee Lamb and
I mean, people forget just 2 short seasons ago, it was a complete offensive team with one of the worst defenses in the history of the league that was still winning 12 games. And it's kind of the same dudes. Everybody have a great Monday. Be back tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That ball is blistered to right. Way back. Goodbye.
We were sitting around the office one day and tried to explain what Western Oklahoma Realty was. If you had to put it in a dictionary, what would you get? What kind of definition you would get? I think I said what about, were people before property?
Well, it means that you put the person that you're working with or the family that you're working with, you put their interests first. You make sure that you find the right property for them at the price that they can afford, and make sure that you take good care of them through the process.
For all your real estate needs, give Western Oklahoma Realty a call at 225-6271.